Welcome to Guns Gear Network, everyone. Appreciate you tuning in. Today we're going to discuss transmission shudder in an FJ Cruiser. Welcome back, guys. So today we are going to discuss transmission shudder in FJ Cruisers. Normally you're going to hear transmission shudder in an FJ Cruiser in the earlier models, 07, 08, 09 kind of thing, but it may be it may happen in later models, but it's typically in the earlier models. So transmission shudder, what is it? It is when at around 40 to 50 miles an hour your FJ will vibrate. Some people describe it as a sensation of driving over washboards. So it's during lockup is what it's called. So it's in between when gears are changing, and it's not slipping or anything like, you know, your transmission is going bad, you feel it slipping. Kind of heard that, or maybe you've experienced that in the past. This is literally, it's vibrating. And because mine has limb risers and a ham antenna on the front, I can really see that vibration when mine was doing shudder. So what we're going to discuss today is common fixes and you know, what is it and all that, and some myths that are out, and just kind of give you the best plan of action if you discover that you're having shudder in your FJ. So this comes up quite a bit on the forums and Facebook pages and stuff like that, and some people jump to the conclusion that you need a torque converter. I'm not saying that would definitely fix it, but in my experience, I've been able to correct mine, and a lot of other people have too, without actually going to change a torque converter. Does that mean that eventually I may not need a torque converter? Maybe, and we'll discuss that. So let's talk the transmission in general at first, because there's a little controversy about the transmission and is it serviceable. There was an argument, and it's actually said by Toyota, the fluid in it is a lifetime fluid, and a lot of cars are doing that now, and it's ridiculous. So people that are been around FJs and things like that know that it is best to actually, at a certain mileage, certain amount of usage, especially if you're towing and stuff, to go ahead and get that fluid out. I bought this FJ when it had just 100,000 miles on it, and about 110,000. As a maintenance procedure, I decided to go ahead and change the fluid. So there are procedures to do it yourself on the internet, and I did it myself. In hindsight, I would not do it myself again, and the reason is because there is a proper procedure when it comes to changing it out. The fluid needs to be at a certain temperature and things like that. Matter of fact, a guy that is what I consider a Toyota FJ expert. He's not only the service manager at a Toyota dealership, he is big into the off-road community and overlanding and things like that, and he's had an FJ, he's had a couple of them, so he really knows these, and me and him discussed the procedure of changing the transmission fluid. And you have to have the transmission fluid at a certain temperature when it's put in. Matter of fact, he says they actually keep their transmission fluid in a freezer. So I'm not saying you can't do it. Like I said, I did it myself. It's not all that difficult, but in hindsight, I would not do it again myself. So I did do it myself, and then I didn't have any ill effects for a good 10,000 miles. At about 110,000 miles, mine started getting the shudder. And it is a feeling of going over a washboard. It's the front end kind of shakes and so forth. So that Toyota dealership is a little far away from me, and because of the industry I'm in, I know a lot of people in the auto mechanic industry. So I reached out to another Toyota dealership I'm friends with, talked to those guys, and he said, yeah, I'll do a transmission flush for you, no problem. So what you're going to do with a transmission flush is it's going to cost you around $300 at a dealership, maybe a little less. You have to talk to them and find out, but between $250 and $300. However, if you do a full transmission flush, you are exchanging out, removing around 14 quarts of transmission fluid and putting back 14 quarts. I would never ever have this procedure done at one of your local transmission shops or anywhere else. You need to use actual Toyota world standard fluid. It's specific to the Toyota. It is synthetic, and you need to use that. Even with that, if you look at, you say, well, it's $300 to have it done at a dealership. Well, keep in mind that transmission fluid itself is somewhere between 10 and 15 bucks a quart, so it's not cheap. So a lot of that cost is actually in the transmission fluid itself. Some people talk about doing a pan drop. If you do a pan drop and you're only going to remove about 3 to 4 quarts of fluid by doing that, so you're not really accomplishing what you really need to do. There's always controversy when it comes to fluid flushes and things like that. Some people think you're going to release particulates, you know, like fine metal shavings that the magnetic you know, pieces have actually accumulated, things like that. You know, I've never heard any real ill effects of transmission flushes with the FJ anyway. Also keep in mind, I've never actually heard of a catastrophic failure of an FJ transmission or a torque converter. I'm not saying it hadn't happened or anything like that, but I'm pretty involved in the FJ community when it comes to the internet, and I've never heard somebody say, hey, my transmission blew out or my torque converter completely blew out. I've just never heard that. I've heard the shudder and so forth. So step one, if you get the shudder, go get a transmission flush from a reputable Toyota dealership that's going to use the correct fluids, do it at the correct fluid temperatures and things like that. Do that first. If that does not fix it, so what happened was I had mine done at about 120,000 miles or so. Mine started getting the shudder, went and got it done, and got it at the dealership, started driving it, still had the shudder. It wasn't quite as bad, but it still had it. 500 miles into it, I could barely feel the shudder, and at 1,000 miles, it was basically gone. And so that was at about 120,000 miles. It is currently on 144,000 miles, and no ill effects, no anything. It's riding perfect, no shudder whatsoever. So that was my fix. If you go and do a transmission flush correctly at the right dealership and things like that, and you drive it about anywhere from, I would give it anywhere from 500 to 2,000 miles, and you're still getting that shudder, there is another fix, again controversial, but it is actually called Shudder Fix, and it is a little tube you buy from the local Advance, AutoZone, and so forth. I will put in the section below down there what it looks like and what the name of it is. It's called Shudder Fix. You can try that. It's been talked about that people have put that in and fixed it. So that is another option. So what I would do is, if you get the shudder, transmission flush first. After about 2,000 miles, if you've gotten, you know, it's not gotten any better or anything else, try the Shudder Fix. Again, it's a $9 tube. You know, you're not going to do any more damage to the transmission or the torque converter that's maybe already done. At this point, you're just trying to see if it'll fix it. For $8, I'm going to try it. If that doesn't do it, then start looking for a reputable mechanic to be able to change out your either your torque converter and or find a rebuilt transmission or whatever you need to do. A lot of even dealerships don't like messing with transmissions. Some do, some don't. There's also a company floating around, if you want to research that actually rebuilds the torque converters in the FJ, but they do not have where they can send you one and you send them the core back, or vice versa. So you're going to have to wait for it to get repaired, which could be, you know, 2 to 4 weeks maybe. I don't know. Never dealt with them, but I have seen them around on the internet, and they talk about fixing the transmission shudder by rebuilding those torque converters. So there's some options for you out there. The FJ Cruiser does not, it is a sealed unit, the transmission is, and there's no way to check your transmission fluid with a traditional dipstick. So, you know, that I prefer a traditional dipstick. That way I can at least check the quality of my fluid and the level of it in case there's any leaks, or, you know, it's got a burnt smell or anything. But unfortunately, these don't have that. So you're just going to have to keep your transmission fluid flushed out, you know, every 100,000 miles miles or so, and you know, hope for the best when it comes to that. But anyway, guys, I hope this has been helpful to you. If you got any questions, you can post those below. If you actually have had transmission shudder and your experiences with it and what you did to fix it, be sure to comment in the section below too. That always helps. For you new guys that are, you know, just experiencing this shudder or whatever, you know, get on Facebook, get on some of the forums specific to the FJ. You're probably going to get a lot of different answers. On one of my Facebook pages, as soon as somebody mentions Shudder, one guy always recommends a new torque converter. He went that route. I get it, but there's plenty of guys like myself that have done it a different way and had good results. Mine, like I said, mine's over about 20,000 miles now or so, and I've not had any other transmission shudders. So it should be hopefully fine, you know, and we'll just see how it goes. And if I'll report back, you know, if it comes down to starting to do it again or something, or I have to get a torque converter, whatever, I'll report back in this video and tell you about what I did and the mileage and things like that. But I would not be scared away from an FJ because of this, and I would not be scared away from doing, at least trying this cheaper version than just going out and doing the straight up torque converter right out of the gate. There's some people that did that and then they wound up actually having other issues soon after, trying to figure out answers by that, you know, by getting on the Facebook pages and forums and stuff, because they started having check engine lights and things like that. So you better get somebody reputable to do it. You got to search around, make sure that hopefully maybe even get a recommendation from somebody local to your area. But, you know, check with your Toyota dealership first. They're obviously going to be the most expensive. I get that, but there's certain things that is cheaper to get it done right the first time. So just keep that, you know, keep that in your mind, that sometimes it's better to pay up front and get it done correctly. So anyway, guys, hope that was helpful. If you got any questions, post those below. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. If you would, also, there's the share content on social media, your forums, Facebook pages, places like that. Helps us get the word out about Guns and Gear Network, which is greatly appreciated. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell out beside of it. That will give you notification when we release new videos. As always, guys, like, share, and subscribe. Bring another video shortly. Have a great day.